Hello, my name is Kathleen Lazzini, and I'm honored to share my dissertation, Rebuilding the Traditional Policing System, an evaluation study of multidisciplinary collaborative response initiatives. Law enforcement faces ongoing challenges with recruitment, strained morale, and public scrutiny. Without strong leadership, transparency, and resources, agencies risk toxic cultures, unmet goals, and losing valuable personnel. This problem is important to address because the underperformance in rebuilding policing systems makes it critical for agencies to have authentic leaders and strong community partnerships that uphold ethical values, beliefs, and principles. These qualities are essential for addressing the lack of accountability and transparency that continue to challenge the policing profession. Recognizing this pressing need, the study explored both the gaps that hinder progress and the strengths that can be leveraged to enhance multidisciplinary response efforts and improve agency effectiveness. While a complete gap analysis would include all stakeholders, the purpose of this research was to examine those factors from the perspectives of mid-level law enforcement leaders and use their insights to guide a holistic knowledge motivation and organizational gap closure plan. The National Law Enforcement Alliance, NLEA a pseudonym, represents sworn law enforcement personnel from police agencies spanning across the United States. NLEA members have a genuine interest to assist agencies with rebuilding the way the traditional policing system is structured. NLEA's performance goal is that by 2027, law enforcement agencies will implement a best practice model of rebuilding policing that synchronizes law enforcement agencies with community partners, collaboratively increasing multidisciplinary response initiatives. This goal intentionally derives from NLEA's mission to raise ethical integrity standards of policing by engaging in professional, thorough, and unbiased policing practices that maintain accountability and transparency with the public. To track and measure progress growth for achieving NLEA's goal, a strategic training and performance evaluation plan was developed throughout the study to support the stakeholder goal that involves law enforcement mid-level leaders increasing multidisciplinary response initiatives by 20% by 2026. Mid-level law enforcement leaders are the focus of this study because they serve as the bridge between administrative leadership, frontline staff, and interagency partners. They play a critical role in maintaining a healthy workplace culture, addressing performance gaps that impact both public safety and internal operations, and offering perspectives essential to shaping effective training and evaluation programs. Through their guidance and support, they help agency members expand their knowledge and apply it into practice. This study was guided by two core research questions designed to explore the factors influencing mid-level law enforcement leaders in supporting and reinforcing multidisciplinary response efforts. The first question looks at the knowledge, motivation, and organizational influences that affect leaders' ability to increase these initiatives by 20%. The second question shifts towards solutions, asking what specific KMO-based recommendations can be made to close the identified performance gaps. And together, these questions helped frame both the diagnostic and the actionable goals of the study. This study used Clark and Estes gap analysis model to examine root causes of organizational challenges by assessing leaders' knowledge, motivation, and barriers to performance. The model highlights the need to align goals with agency mission and values, strengthen accountability, and leverage diverse perspectives for collaboration. Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of training, evaluation, and Crothwell's knowledge dimension further guided assessment of how stakeholder learning needs were supported in practice. Clark and Estes emphasized that an organization's culture and structure can either encourage or impede individual and group performance growth. For authentic and sustainable change to occur, it is essential to diagnose human causes behind stakeholder communication failures, leadership deficiencies, and training and performance gaps so that reliable solutions can be identified. The following 3 slides summarize the KMO assumed influences uncovered from researching general theory and context-specific literature relevant to the study's stakeholder group, mid-level law enforcement leaders. In the area of knowledge, 2 key assumed influences emerged. The first is procedural knowledge, in understanding the steps of how to measure agency progress against performance goal expectancies, and the process of how to develop effective working relationships with community partners. The second is metacognitive knowledge, in using critical reflection to assess leadership responsibilities in multidisciplinary initiatives. Albert Bandura explains that performance outcomes improve when individuals are motivated to engage in opportunities where they can learn and strengthen their skills through continuous practice. According to Eccles, people who set higher expectations for themselves can increase their motivation to achieve goals. For this study, task value pertains to mid-level law enforcement leaders' ability to recognize the need for comparing traditional policing practices with collaborative multidisciplinary response practices. And self-efficacy relates to the confidence they have in their ability to establish internal and external agency connections. Bandura explains that a sense of cultural belonging and collective efficacy can help shape how people perceive their ability to work together in a socially interdependent environment to mutually contribute resources, skills, knowledge, and support to accomplish goals. In the area of organization, several assumed influences were identified that affect stakeholders' ability to achieve performance goals. Schneider, Brief, and Guzzo suggest that for organizational change to be successful, agencies must uphold a culture and a climate that support employee values and beliefs so that they can create a shared vision and a commitment to achieving performance objectives. For mid-level leaders, this means having clear current goals and the necessary resources, such as time, funding, and personnel, to meet expectations effectively. It also requires operating within a culture that provides dependable leadership support and actively encourages collaboration with multidisciplinary community partners. For this study, I employed a sequential explanatory mixed methods design, beginning with a quantitative survey, followed by qualitative interviews and document analysis. This approach captured both measurable trends and in-depth perspectives, with all phases intentionally aligned to Clark and Estes' KMO model, the study's conceptual framework, and the research questions. A purposeful, non-random, convenient sampling strategy was used to select participants with recent and relevant experience as mid-level leaders in interagency settings, which is experience essential for answering the research questions. I recruited participants through my professional networks, identifying qualified individuals from a range of jurisdictions, including city, county, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, to capture varied leadership perspectives. This study used 3 primary tools for data collection: a 15-item Qualtrics survey, semi-structured interviews, and document analysis of agency materials. Each instrument was piloted and refined to improve clarity, validity, and reliability. The survey captured quantitative data on leadership practices and organizational conditions. The interviews provided in-depth qualitative perspectives, and the document analysis offered important organizational context. To guide both phases, I developed a KMO interview and survey protocol, along with an interview and survey crosswalk instrument. These tools ensured alignment with the research questions and conceptual framework, supporting a thorough, accurate, and credible analysis. Throughout the process, I upheld research integrity and methodological rigor to strengthen the study's overall trustworthiness. The study's 15-item survey gathered responses from 32 mid-level law enforcement leaders, representing city, county, state, and federal agencies. Most participants had extensive career tenure, with the largest group serving 15 to 20 years, followed by those with 21 to 25 years, and 5 of the 32 participants had served over 26 years in the profession. Educational backgrounds ranged from high school diplomas to doctoral degrees, with many holding bachelor's or master's degrees. From this group, 9 leaders participated in interviews, each lasting about 45 minutes, and were either held in person or via Zoom. These discussions provided deeper insight into leadership experiences, agency culture, and multidisciplinary collaboration. Descriptive notes captured during each interview documented key statements and observations, helping shape the study's actionable best practice recommendations. Data from surveys, interviews, and document reviews were transcribed, synthesized, and coded to identify key themes and patterns. A priori codes were applied and cross-referenced with the knowledge, motivation, and organizational framework and the research questions to verify accuracy. Clark and Estes' gap analysis model guided interpretation, while triangulation across all data sources helped to confirm consistent patterns. This refinement process validated the accuracy and credibility of the findings and helped shape them into actionable recommendations. Survey and interview results revealed both strengths and areas for improvement in mid-level law enforcement leadership. The findings are organized around the KMO framework, showing where leaders are well prepared and where support is needed to strengthen interagency collaboration.
The key findings for knowledge influences revealed that leaders demonstrated a solid understanding of reflective practices and their role in building collaborative relationships. Many expressed confidence in their responsibilities and valued feedback from their teams as a way to improve performance. However, a significant gap exists in measuring outcomes effectively. Participant 9 explained, "There was no real measurement to say, here, we reached 90%, we reached 85%. It was kind of like, hey, let's do these things and say we did them." Without a consistent measurement framework, leaders rely on informal evaluation methods, which limit their ability to track progress or align with organizational goals. The findings suggest a need for structured metrics and clearer goal alignment to better support these partnerships. The key findings for motivation influences revealed that leaders consistently recognize the value of multidisciplinary partnerships for improving public safety and building trust. As shown in the figure, survey respondents highlighted improved networking with community partners, increased agency transparency, and shared resources and intervention strategies as leading factors in deciding to pursue these collaborations. However, their confidence in building these partnerships varied. Participant 4 described feeling fully assured externally that they were able to bring them to the table, but noted internal resistance marked by friction, egos, and a type A male-dominated environment made things difficult. Similarly, Participant 5 observed that, in the policing culture, transparency is often seen as a sign of weakness, a mindset that filters out the very conversations needed to inspire collaboration. Participant 6 emphasized that confidence was conditional, stating, "I think with the right support, yes," but stressed the need for buy-in from the top because their agency was very slow at implementing anything new. These perspectives show that while leaders are motivated by the benefits of collaboration, their ability to act is shaped by organizational culture and leadership support, highlighting the importance of building self-efficacy and fostering an environment that rewards partnership efforts. The key findings for organizational influences revealed that internal barriers were one of the most consistent challenges to sustaining partnerships. Leaders pointed to resource disparities, unclear goals, and cultural conflicts hindering progress. Communication breakdowns and low trust further limited alignment with agency objectives. While some leaders took proactive steps, they were clear that long-term success requires organizational alignment, ensuring that culture, policies, and resources fully support collaborative goals. Survey data reinforced these concerns, showing that many agencies lacked clear direction. Participant 7 explained that tasks within multidisciplinary teams often developed around individual strengths because the agency provided little guidance. They admitted uncertainty about how goals were set, saying, "I have no clue how those goals are determined, and I can't remember ever getting any kind of direction on how those should look." Limited funding, staffing, and training were also reoccurring themes. Participant 7 noted that without systemic investment, your ceiling is kind of limited. Participant 2 compared their agency's resources to a basic service provider such as Supercuts, where essentials are provided, but if you want to be great, it requires seeking outside resources. Despite these challenges, leaders emphasized the importance of relationship building, adaptability, and wellness initiatives. While peer support showed some progress, concerns about trust and confidentiality revealed that integration into agency culture remains a work in progress. These findings highlight the need to strengthen communication systems, align goals strategically, and commit resources to support both leaders and community partnerships. This study found that mid-level leaders are most motivated when their expertise and relationships align with agency priorities, especially in building and sustaining multidisciplinary collaboration. Motivation grows when leaders see the value of working across agencies and are trusted with shared responsibility for advancing public safety goals. Building trust through transparency and respect is critical, as it strengthens relationships and supports collaborative decision-making. Leaders are further motivated when they have the opportunity for growth and professional development, along with consistent support through coaching, mentoring, and recognition. Together, these strategies reinforce confidence and commitment, helping leaders remain engaged in driving long-term collaborative partnerships that enhance both organizational performance and community trust. To strengthen mid-level law enforcement leadership knowledge, agencies should first provide structured training on multidisciplinary leadership, ensuring leaders understand how to navigate complex partnerships and diverse organizational cultures. These trainings should emphasize reflective practices tied to measurable outcomes, allowing leaders to critically evaluate their decisions and connect their growth to real performance improvements. Agencies also need to develop clear evaluation systems to track progress, so leadership effectiveness can be consistently measured and improved over time. Finally, training must align with agency goals and community expectations, ensuring leaders are not only prepared for collaboration, but are also advancing the broader mission of public safety and trust.
The organizational recommendations focus on strengthening alignment and support for collaboration. Agencies should provide mid-level leaders with adequate resources to include time, staffing, and funding to engage with community partners. Clear and consistent goals must be established to guide both internal performance and external collaboration. Nurturing a culture of trust, transparency, and wellness is equally important, supported by dependable peer systems that promote resilience. Organizational policies and values should be aligned with collaborative practices to ensure consistency across agencies. And finally, agencies should strengthen community partnerships through shared goals, open communication, and joint problem-solving strategies. To guide the implementation and evaluation of these recommendations, the Kirkpatrick model provides a 4-level framework: reaction, learning, behavior, and results, for assessing leadership training and collaborative practices. Each level builds on the other to ensure performance expectations are reinforced and outcomes are meaningful. This approach directly supports the National Law Enforcement Alliance's mission to rebuild policing through transparency, accountability, and trust. By linking training outcomes to NLEA's 2027 goal of a best practice policing model and the 2026 benchmark of increasing multidisciplinary initiatives by 20%, agencies can equip mid-level leaders with the skills, resources, and confidence to drive measurable change and long-term community impact.
This study had a few limitations. The sample size was smaller than anticipated, and the reliance on self-reported data introduced the possibility of social desirability bias. The limited time frame also prevented evaluating the long-term benefits of the Kirkpatrick model. In addition, the study was focused only on mid-level U.S. law enforcement leaders with collaborative experience, which excluded perspectives from other organizational levels and partner agencies. Future research should examine the long-term impacts of training, mentorship, and resource allocation on collaboration, as well as how emerging technologies can enhance data sharing, coordination, and decision-making. Advancing these areas can support sustainable frameworks that strengthen collaboration, improve public safety, and build greater community trust. This study showed that mid-level law enforcement leaders face knowledge, motivational, and organizational barriers that limit collaboration with community partners. Positioned between leadership and frontline operations, they play a vital role, but are often under-resourced and constrained by traditional structures and cultural challenges. Addressing these barriers requires targeted training, resources, and authority that empower leaders to embed collaboration into daily practices. Strengthening mid-level leadership is key to building trust, supporting officer well-being, and achieving lasting reform. Ultimately, the future of policing depends on equipping these leaders to drive change with integrity, transparency, and innovation.